Hello friends, this is tutorial number 68 in this C++ programming course. In this tutorial we will talk about polymorphism. We have talked a little about polymorphism in the previous tutorial when we learned about virtual functions, but now I will explain you better in this tutorial. We will focus on the polymorphism, and let's quickly create a project. Let's create console application, C++. We will call it polymorphism. And in this tutorial we want to calculate circumference and area of the square, and also we want to calculate the volume and also the area of the cube object. We will create two classes, and also we will use inheritance. Okay, first let's go. Here is our main CPP file, and let's create a class. The name of the class will be square without destructor. We have created our class. Let's include namespace standard and IO stream to our square CPP file. And we will include this namespace standard in the header file. And we will have one private member which will be the side of the square. We will define it. It will be a, it can be or integer, or we will use float. Float a. It's a private member. We will use a private inheritance. And let's create a constructor. It will be a parameterized constructor with we will use this float a. And we will create set and get functions. So we will use float. The name of the function will be get a. It will have float a as a parameter, and it will not be get a, it will be set a. Now we will create get a function. And also let's create float function which will be circumference. We want to calculate circumference of the square, and also we will calculate the area. We will have area function. And now let's go to CPP file. Now let's define, first we will define this parameterized constructor. It has float a as a parameter, and we will use this keyword. This a will be equals to a. This is our parameterized constructor, and now let's go to define functions. First let's go to the set function, float square. You can also use a void for the set function. Now we will use float. It will be set a, float a as a parameter, and let's write this a will be equals to a, and we will return a. Now let's go to define get function. Get a, it will return a. Now we need to define circumference function. And we need to use a formula to calculate circumference of the square. It's simple one. It will return 4 multiplied with A. And now let's define area function. We can, we don't need, but I will include CMath library. We can write A multiplied with A, but also we can write, we need a formula to calculate the area of the square. It's A multiplied with A, or square of side A. Let's write, we'll use POW, and we will write A. It is a square of the side A, or A multiplied with A. You can use whatever you want. Now we define it all. Let's see if maybe we have some error. Let's try to build and run this. Okay, it works properly. We don't have errors. Now we want to create class cube, which will be the derived class of this base class square. Let's create a new class. The name of the class will be cube. And first, in the square CPP file, it is a base class. Let's include derived class, which is cube. And in the cube header file, we will include base class. Okay, mistake. It is square. And now let's write two dots, and we need to write public square. We have defined cube as a derived class of the base class square. It will not have private members. We want to use this side of square. It will be the side of the cube. We don't need private members here. And let's create a constructor. It will be parameterized constructor. Just a second. It will have float A as a parameter. And we don't need, we will use get and set function from the base class. And here we want to calculate the area. It will be float area. But we will not use the function area from the base class. We will have a separate float function area, and we will have float volume. We want to calculate area and volume of the cube. And now let's go define it in CPP file. Let's define constructor. It will have float A as a parameter, and let's write two dot, and we need square with parameter A. And we will use a set function from the base class for our constructor. Let's use set A, and we will use parameter A to create our cube object. Now let's go define area and volume function. We have area of this object cube, and the point is we want it is not We have in the previous tutorial we had a virtual function. This means if we have a virtual function area, that means if we have area function in derived class, it will override virtual function from the base class, and we don't want to do that. We want to because we have a function, this area we'll use it in the base class to calculate the area of the square, and this area function in the cube object, we will use it to calculate the area of the cube. We cannot use a virtual function because a square has its own formula to calculate area of the square, and cube has its own formula, and we will not use like we did in the previous tutorials about inheritance. We want to have the same, we will not have the different names of the functions. We will have the same name of the functions, but we will know when to use area of the square function and when we want to use area of the cube function. And let's define. We need to calculate the area of the cube, and we need formula for that, and we need to include CMath library. And formula to calculate the area of the cube, we need to return 6 multiplied with a square of side A, which will be, we need to use pow A2, which means this is the square of the side A, and this is the formula to calculate the area of the cube. Now let's go to define a volume function. It is a cube number of the side A, and we will just return pow A and 3, which will be the cube number of the side A, and that should be fine. Now we will just we want to see if we have some error. Let's go here to the main, we will build and run this, and we have A. Just a second. Okay, it's a private. My mistake. We can't use it. I didn't use a protected inheritance, and that is why we cannot use A here. But instead of A, we will simply use, instead of A, we will use get A, and also here we will use get A, because A is a private member, and we cannot in the base class, and we cannot use private member from the base class into the derived class. I already explained you, we can only use protected and public members, and A is a private, and this means that we need, instead of A, we will use get A function. Now let's see if everything works properly. Okay, everything is okay. Now let's go to the main. We don't need this hello world. First, what we need to include, we will include base class, which is square, and we will include derived class, which is cube. And now we will need one float variable. We will call it side A. we will input the side, and this will be the side of the square and also will be side of the cube. Let's write a message, enter side A, and we will input side A. Now, when we have a side A, we will use this side A, this float variable, to create a cube object. Let's create cube. We will call it cube C, will be equals to new cube. We have a parameterized constructor, and we will it has one float parameter, and we will use this side A as a parameter. And we also want to create square object, but we want to use a reference to this object cube. Let's create square. We will call it S with pointer. It will be allocated in the memory, and let's use the reference. It will be a reference to the C object, which is cube. We did a similar thing in the previous tutorial when we learned about virtual functions. Now, if you didn't understand it well, now you will understand it better. And we need to write some message about our object. We want to display data about cube and about square also. Let's write. First, we will use a square /n, a square with following features has been obtained. Let's use end line, and we will display all. We want to display a side, we want to display let me see, square. It has okay, side A, which is A, and we want to also display circumference, and we will also want to display the area. First, let's write side, and of course we need a square. We will use S. And we will use a get A function. End line. Now we want to display circumference. And we will write S. Let's use circumference. And we want to display the area. And let's write S. Let's use this keyword, and let's use area. Okay, it will display all characteristics of the square object. And now let's display the same message about cube object /n, and we'll write a cube with following features has been obtained. And line. Let's use side. We will use C, and we will use a getA function. As you can see here, we have in the derived class we can use a function that we have in the derived class, but we can use some functions from the base class. But in this situation, we want just to use area and the volume function. But I use area first. I need getA function for the side. Now we will need area. We will use C, then area function. And we have a volume, and let's use C, volume. Now maybe you are confused about area function, but it doesn't have nothing to do. The function area in the base class is not virtual. This means, what this means? It will not be. It will be overridden, but it will be overridden only in case depending of the object. If we have a cube object, it will, if the object is cube, it will run the function of the cube, and if the object is square, it will run area function of the square. Now we will do see how it will gonna do. For example, if this function area is virtual, it will always be run area function from the derived class, and we don't want to do that. We want to when we have a cube object, we will use area of the cube, and when we have a square object, we will use area of square function. And this keyword will help us to separate it. Now let's build and run to see if it will work properly. But before that, we need to delete. First let's delete square from the memory. We don't need it anymore, and we will delete cube also from the memory. Now we can run to see if everything will work properly. Enter side A. We will enter number 3, and here is the we have a square with following features has been obtained. Side is 3, and this is not very good. We forgot some end line here from the square, where we forgot end line. We forgot it here. Okay, let's enter side is 3. Okay, a square with following features has been obtained. Side is 3, circumference is 12, and the formula for a circumference of the square is 4 multiplied with A, and area is 9, which is okay. 3 multiplied with 3, it is a square number of the side. side multiplied with side, 3 multiplied with 3 will be a 9, which is perfect. And we have also a cube with following features has been obtained. Okay, side is 3. Okay, sides are the same. And area is 54, and area is 6 multiplied with square, it will be 6 multiplied with a and multiplied with a. We can calculate 6 multiplied with 3 is 18, and 18 multiplied with 3 is 54, which is perfect. This is the area of the cube, and we have a volume. Volume is the cube number of the side. The side is 3. Cube number of number 3 is 27. 3 multiplied with 3 is 9. And 9 multiplied with 3 is 27, which works properly and works perfectly fine. Of course, it's a float. Here we use a number like an integer, but of course we can use a float number. For example, 3.25. As you can see, we have a square with following features has been obtained. Side is 3.25, circumference of the square is 13, and area is 10.56, and a cube with following features has been obtained. Okay, we use a side 3.25, area is 63.37, and volume is 34.32. Which works perfectly. Now I just want to show you, if we change here, if we change this function to the square area, if we can define it as virtual, but it's not good. Now if I build and run, it will works. But now let's side will be just number 2. I just want to show you. As you can see, a square with following features has been obtained. Side is 2, and circumference is 4 multiplied with a, which is okay. But as you can see, area should be 2 multiplied, area should be 4, but now it's 24. And what this means? We defined a function in the square as a virtual. And we also have a virtual function area in the base class, and in the derived class we have also function area, and this means that it will be run function from the derived class. I just wanted to explain you better. I explained you in the previous tutorial, and as you can see, area is not correct. When we see cube is correct, side is 2, area is 24, it is 6 multiplied with a, which is 6 multiplied with 2 is 12, and 12 multiplied with 2 is 24, which is correct. Cube number of the number 2 is number 8. 2 multiplied with 2 is 4, and 2 multiplied with 4 is 8. Which means that we can't use this area function as, just a second, we cannot use this function as a virtual. I wanted to explain you polymorphism better, and I really hope that now you understand it. Now we don't have a virtual function, now we will just type number 2. As you can see, and now it works perfectly fine. Area is here of the cube is 24, which is correct, and as you can see now, area is 4. 2 multiplied with 2 is 4. And I hope now that you understand it better, and I really hope that now you understand when you need to use virtual and when you don't need to use a virtual function. You see how it works. And I really hope that you like this video. If you like this video, don't forget to subscribe to my channel. You can also follow me on Instagram. You have a link in the description, and I will see you in the next tutorial.